Pick one random stranger walking down a street in GTA 6. Not a mission target, not a cop, not anyone the game told you to care about, just a face in the crowd. Now follow them. Do not shoot, do not rob, do not do anything a GTA player normally does. Just walk behind them and watch. And somewhere in the next few in-game hours, that faceless nobody is going to do something that no character in the entire history of this series has ever done. They are going to go home. They are going to have a name, a job, a place they sleep, and a life that keeps running whether you are standing there or not. And here is the part that should stop you cold. Rockstar has never once stood on a stage and said this out loud. There is no trailer that brags about it. The only reason anyone knows is that it slipped out, quietly, in the last place you would ever think to look. And by the end of this, I am going to show you the one detail they buried, the single thing that makes this the most dangerous promise in the entire game. Now I need you to understand why this is a much bigger deal than it sounds, because on the surface, an NPC walking home is nothing. Who cares? But stay with me, because this quietly rewrites what a Grand Theft Auto world even is. For 25 years, every single person you have ever seen in a GTA game has been a lie. A convincing lie, but a lie all the same. They were cardboard. They existed for exactly as long as you were looking at them, and the instant you turned around, they were deleted out of existence and a fresh one was spawned in their place. Nobody had a home, nobody had a tomorrow. The city was a stage set, and the crowd were extras who evaporated the moment the camera moved. What leaked about GTA 6 is that this may finally, genuinely be over. And there is one specific thing hidden inside how it works that I will get to near the end. A detail that flips this whole story from a cute little feature into something quietly unsettling. Hold on to that word, unsettling. Because by the time we get there, you are going to realize the stranger you followed was doing something back to you the entire time. So let me show you the trick, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and it is the exact thing GTA 6 is trying to kill. In every GTA up to now, the world runs on something developers call a bubble. Picture a sphere around your character, maybe a few 100 feet wide. Inside that bubble, pedestrians and cars are spawned. Outside it, nothing exists at all. As you drive forward, the game frantically deletes everything behind you and invents brand new people in front of you, fast enough that you never quite catch the seam. The woman who just crossed the street in front of your car does not walk to a building. She does not exist 2 seconds later. She was born the moment you could see her, and she died the moment you could not. This is why, in the old games, you could commit an atrocity on one block, drive around the corner, come back, and the street would be perfectly calm, full of complete strangers who had no idea anything had happened. There was no memory, because there was nobody left alive to remember. The whole world had the attention span of a goldfish, on purpose, because remembering is expensive. And that single limitation is the thing every leak, every rumor, and every frame of GTA 6 footage is pointing straight at breaking. Let me make this concrete, because a living NPC is an abstract phrase, and I want you to actually feel it. Imagine you spot a man in work clothes stepping off a bus in the morning. In the old bubble, he is a costume with legs, and he means nothing. But in the world the leaks describe, follow him, and a full day quietly unfolds. He walks to a construction site and stands where a worker would stand. Hours later he clocks out, stops somewhere to eat, and rides back across the city, to a specific neighborhood, to a specific block, and disappears through a specific door. That is his home. Tomorrow, in theory, he does it all again. Now multiply that by an entire crowd. The jogger on the boardwalk is genuinely out for a run, and will loop back the way she came. The clerk behind the counter opened that store, and will be the one to close it. The old man on the bench is passing an afternoon, not waiting for you to arrive. None of it is staged for your benefit. It is a city going about its business, and you just happen to be standing in the middle of it, holding a gun, the one real intruder in a place where everyone else already has somewhere to be. Here is where the first real crack appears, and it came from the strangest possible source. Not Rockstar, a product listing. When retailers around the world put a game up for pre-order, they get a marketing sheet, a short list of bullet points describing what the game does. And a listing that went up on Amazon in Brazil carried a line that Rockstar itself had never said anywhere. It described the citizens of the world as having their own daily routines, personal schedules, lives they lead independently of the player. Now think hard about what that phrase actually means if it is true. It means the person you followed is not just wandering randomly to look busy. It means the game is keeping track of the fact that this specific character wakes up somewhere, travels to a job, spends the day doing it, and returns home at night, on a loop, like an actual resident of an actual city. Rockstar quietly let that line disappear, or at least never repeated it, which of course only made the fandom more certain it was real. Because, here is the thing about leaks like this, a marketing sheet is not hype. It is the boring internal description of features, written by someone who assumed nobody would ever read it that closely. When the boring internal document promises more than the flashy trailer does, that is usually the version sitting closer to the truth. And now the part that turns a rumor into something you can genuinely believe, because Rockstar has done this before, and I can prove it. Go back to Red Dead Redemption 2, their last game. That world was not powered by the goldfish bubble. The townsfolk of Red Dead had schedules. A shopkeeper opened his store in the morning and closed it at night. People drifted to the saloon in the evening, they slept. And more than that, they remembered you. If you bumped into a man on the street, he might recognize you the next day and bring it up. If you robbed someone and were seen, witnesses would ride to town and report it, and a bounty would appear with your name on it. You could be identified. You could pull a bandana over your face to change how people reacted. The world held a grudge. Now here is the leap that should make your jaw tighten. Red Dead did all of that in a handful of small frontier towns, on hardware that is now nearly a decade old. GTA 6 is that exact same design philosophy. That same obsession with a world that remembers, aimed at a sprawling modern city the size of a real metropolis, running on hardware many times more powerful. Rockstar is not inventing living NPCs from nothing. They already built the engine for it once. GTA 6 is what happens when you point that engine at millions of people in a city that never sleeps. And the modern setting changes what remembering even means, in a way the old frontier never could. In Red Dead, if a witness saw your crime, they had to physically ride a horse to the nearest town to report you, and if you caught them on the road first, you could stop the news from ever spreading. The information moved at the speed of a galloping horse, and you could outrun it. Now picture that exact same system dropped into a city full of phones and cameras and, if the leaks hold, an internet of its own. The witness does not need to ride anywhere. They lift a phone, and the moment is captured, and it can travel across the city at the speed all of us already know too well. The thing you did on one street can, in principle, be known on another before you have even switched cars. Rockstar spent a whole game teaching a frontier town how to gossip about you. GTA 6 hands that same instinct a smartphone and a signal. The grudge no longer has to chase you down on the road. It can simply post. But schedules and memory are only half of it, and this is where GTA 6 seems to go somewhere the fans genuinely did not expect. Look closely at the trailer footage and the leaks, and the city is not just alive, it is watching. Reports describe bystanders who pull out their phones and film you when something violent happens right in front of them. Not a canned animation on a timer. A reaction. Think about the chain of logic that actually requires. The game has to notice that a crime is happening, notice which nearby characters can see it, and have those specific people respond as witnesses, recording, reacting, maybe fleeing, maybe calling it in. That is the Red Dead witness system reborn in a world of smartphones. And then there is the strangest leaked detail of all, one that sounds almost too ambitious to be real. The world is said to have its own internal social media, a feed inside the game where the characters of the city post, react, and talk about what is happening around them. A digital nervous system for a fake city. If that holds, then the people you pass are not just living private lives on private schedules. They are connected to each other, aware of the city as a shared place, reacting to it in something close to real time. And every one of these systems points back at the same buried idea, the one I promised you at the very start. Because a world that watches, films, remembers, and talks is a world that is quietly building a file. And the subject of that file, whether you ever noticed or not, is you. Now your brain is probably doing what mine did and reaching for the obvious objection. Come on, a whole city of people, each with a home, a job, a schedule, a memory, all running at once, even the ones I cannot see? No console could possibly do that. And you would be half right, which is exactly what makes the way Rockstar appears to be solving it so clever. The honest truth is that no machine simulates a million full human lives down to the last footstep. That is impossible, and it always will be. The trick is a kind of beautiful cheat. The characters near you run in full detail, walking, talking, reacting, filming. The ones far away are no longer deleted the way they used to be. Instead, they are quietly tracked in a lighter, cheaper form, a sort of statistical ghost that knows roughly where that person should be and what they should be doing, so that when you finally get close, the game can spin them back up into full detail, in the right place, doing the right thing. The world keeps a memory of who lives where, even when nobody is looking directly at them, and that is the real leap. Old GTA forgot everything the instant it left your sight. GTA 6 is built to remember the city as a whole, even when you are standing on the far side of it. It is the difference between a stage set and a place. And a place, unlike a stage set, has a way of remembering what you did inside it. And this is exactly why the whole thing matters so much for this specific game, at this specific moment. GTA 6 is arriving after more than a decade of waiting, with a reported budget unlike almost anything in the history of the medium, and a launch set for the 19th of November that Rockstar has now publicly refused to move. When you spend that long and that much, you are not paying for prettier explosions. Graphics plateaued years ago. The one real frontier left, the only thing that can actually justify a decade of silence, is aliveness. A world that feels less like a level and more like a living place. That is the product. That is the thing they are really selling, underneath the palm trees and the neon. And it is also the one thing that is almost impossible to show off in a 2-minute trailer, because aliveness is not a moment, it is a pattern that only reveals itself over hours. You cannot put a stranger walking home into a highlight reel. It only means anything if it is true everywhere, all the time, for everyone. Which is precisely why it has to be built into the bones of the game, and precisely why they are so strangely careful about promising it. So here it is. The detail Rockstar buried, the reason they will not stand on a stage and promise you a living city out loud, even though every leak is screaming that they built one. Say it plainly, and it sounds almost simple. If the world remembers, then it remembers you. Not a wanted level that resets the moment you lose the cops. Not a number that ticks quietly back down to zero. A world that holds schedules, files witness reports, records faces on phones, and talks about events on its own network is a world that can carry a memory of your actions forward in time. The stranger you followed on your first day in the city could, in principle, still be somewhere in that persistent web when you come back on your 40th. The consequences do not evaporate the second you turn the corner anymore, because there is no corner left to hide behind. The whole city is the corner, and all of it is still there, and now you understand why Rockstar has stayed so quiet. A living, remembering world is the single most exciting promise in modern gaming, and it is also the single most dangerous one to make. Because the moment they say the words out loud, on a stage, millions of players will spend launch day trying to break it, follow one person for a real day, commit a crime, and drive back an hour later to see if anyone recalls it, push on every seam, hunting for the goldfish underneath. If even one system cracks in public, the magic dies instantly. So they said nothing, and let a marketing sheet in Brazil do the talking instead. And that is the real payoff hiding under all of this, the thing that one cheap little word, NPC, was never able to tell you. For 25 years, the crowd in a Grand Theft Auto game was scenery, something to drive through, something to scatter, something the game quietly apologized for by deleting before you could ever look too hard. What leaked about GTA 6 is an attempt to turn that scenery into a population. To take the extras and give them the one thing extras never get, a life that continues after the camera leaves. And the second that happens, the entire meaning of the game quietly shifts underneath you. The city stops being a playground built for your convenience and starts being a place you are a visitor inside. The person on the sidewalk is no longer a target that respawns. They are a resident who was going somewhere, who will be missed, who might be seen, who might remember. You did not stop being the most dangerous person in the city, but for the first time, the city is dangerous right back, in the quietest way imaginable. It notices, it keeps score. And it does it without ever raising its voice, without a single line of dialogue. Just a stranger walking home at the end of a day you were never even supposed to be watching. So go back to the very beginning, that random stranger I told you to follow. On any GTA before this one, following them was pointless, because there was nothing waiting at the end of the walk. They would round a corner and dissolve into thin air, and you would be left standing on an empty street feeling slightly foolish for even trying. In GTA 6, if even half of what has leaked turns out to be true, the walk finally has an ending. They reach a door, they go inside, they have arrived somewhere, because they were always going somewhere, whether you followed them or not. That is the whole revolution, hidden inside the most boring image imaginable, a nobody walking home. If this is the kind of GTA 6 detail you actually want, the buried stuff Rockstar will not say on a stage, then subscribe, because the next one is about a single background character the leaks caught doing something the rest of the city is not supposed to know about. Follow that thread with me, and I promise the next walk is even stranger than this one.